So this is Seen and Solved. I'm your host, Tim Pennington. Today we're talking blackening, where firearms and toolmakers are fighting uneven finishes and costly delays. So joining me today, Bill Blanchet, Seacole's surface science guru, Tyler Thomas, Seacole's process problem navigator, and Connor Callais, Hubbard-Hall's chemistry curator. We'll hear how this partnership came together and why the right mix of equipment, chemistry, and service was the key to getting it all solved.
You're listening to the Seen and Solved podcast, brought to you by Hubbard-Hall. Better results, less chemistry.
So welcome, gentlemen. I appreciate you all joining us today to talk blackening. I appreciate that very much. Why don't we start off? I'll ask the guys from Seacole. Tell us a little bit about, give me your background and all that you all do for the finishing industry, if you could.
Seacole came into existence back in 2002. Where they purchased an existing printed circuit board chemical manufacturer. And so Seacole itself manufactures a number of products for a number of different industries. And we also represent and distribute for a number of large suppliers, such as Hubbard-Hall. Hubbard-Hall being one of our favorites for sure.
I'm sure they are. So let's go a little deeper. Bill, tell a bit about your overview, your role there at Seacole. What do you do and how you work with customers in the surface finishing industry?
I'd say for the past 12, maybe 14 years, I have overseen the technical aspects and the sales activities for our surface finishing group and our printed circuit board division. And so that includes, there's 7 of us now that are out there calling on customers. And it also includes supplier relationships. So it's been a good ride. Part 2 to your answer to your question, Tim, is that, when a customer is having issues or is looking for maybe an expansion of some sort, obviously, the idea is to get in, listen to the customer, gather information, and then I like to source out from a number of my contacts to gather more information and address that situation, and then quarterback what's needed to be done to overcome obstacles, problems, and also to oversee an expansion or a new project.
Yeah, get it done. That's the most important thing today, especially when you got customers who don't have a lot of time to waste. You got to get it done for them, get them answers fairly quickly on that. I appreciate that. Tyler, tell us about your background a little bit and, how do you support customers? I know you've been on the other side of the fence for a long time and they're now on the service side. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I've been on the dark side now for about a year and a half. Prior to that, I was running a metal finishing shop for a little over 10 years. I got called up to the big leagues by Bill, and I've been working alongside him, helping manage the team and work through different projects. And I've worked with the Hubbard-Hall team quite a bit. Connor and I have worked on a few projects together. Just trying to learn as much as I can.
So, Bill, how long have you all been working with Hubbard-Hall and with having that partnership together?
We go back about 37 years, back when it was Mitchell Bradford, and then they merged, I believe, and formed the Hubbard-Hall relationship. And so, it's been 37 years that I've been working with them, starting with this young upstart technical representative by the name of Scott Paps. And now he's
Whatever happened to him? Whatever happened to this guy?
Yeah. It's been a great relationship. We've worked extremely well together over the years.
So, Connor, tell us, what is Hubbard-Hall's role in this project and how you all work with Seacole when it comes to giving customers a very consistent blackening finish? How does that work for you all?
With our relationship with Seacole, they're obviously in the area and they have the contact with the potential customers or prospects that we could be working with. They hear from them regularly, and it's our job to not only supply the chemistry that can go to these customers to help them achieve what they're looking for, but to also kind of help provide some of that technical service. So more than just the products and how they can use the different chemistries in certain ways, where there's some advantages that they could take advantage of, whether that be making a more efficient process or learning how to use products more efficiently, just providing that support on the back end.
Bill, I'm sure a lot of your customers don't call you just to say everything's working great, it's just flawless, everything. So what are some challenges you hear from them when it comes to blackening? What are some obstacles that they're running into and the challenges that they're facing?
Well, regarding the hot black oxide, I've had a number of manufacturers call from the firearms industry, from the tool industry, that we're getting poor results, blackening consistent finishes from their outside sources. And obviously it was expensive. It was creating a lot of problems internally for them. And so they asked, can we help them out? And they were all looking to put their own lines in so that they could control their outcomes themselves. And that's the approach we took.
It's sometimes a hard thing to do to run these lines with that, but I guess the benefits outweigh the risk that people have sometimes, I'm sure, of putting their own lines in, because they can control the entire process, manufacturing to the finishing part, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Connor, let me tell you, how does chemistry get involved? I know, Bill mentioned consistency. These customers want consistency, and how does chemistry, kind of overcome any issues with delivering that consistency?
Sure. So when we, let's say we are working with a customer that is wanting to bring something in-house, we can take a look at their parts, understand what sort of finish they're trying to get, understand the challenges that their raw material is going to look like, and what we need to do to process that, not only just for the coloration part, but preparing that surface beforehand, making sure that they're running the blackening chemistry in an efficient manner, then also evaluating different options that they could use to seal or preserve that coating after the fact. So we can work with Seacole and the customer to really make sure we're pinpointing the right sort of products that are going to address their needs and that are unique to their parts that they're trying to produce. And then make sure that the operators are trained on the different chemistries and help them kind of run through different troubleshooting aspects that they may run through.
Bill, was there any specific equipment upgrades, line changes that were made that made a real big difference in this? Yeah,
there was, after doing some research, found out that some of these outside vendors, metal finishing shops, did not have their tanks properly sized for the types of projects that were coming in. When you're a job shop, it's one size fits all, right? And so when you have specific needs that come in and they aren't able to address those needs, such as the sizing of the tanks properly, sizing of the burners that heat up the solution properly, and then being able to control all those facets along with the automatic water feed systems. Without having those things in place, it becomes very difficult to get consistent results. And so whenever we get involved with the projects, those are the things that we look at and analyze. The production needs, the size loads, then we base the tank volumes on that and go from there. Now there's been a really unique chemistry from Hubbard-Hall that's worked phenomenally well for us. And that is a hot oil called Super Seep. And when you have parts that are coupled together, or maybe have blind holes or really deep recesses that are hard to rinse or flush out, if you don't rinse that properly over time, maybe days or even weeks later, you can get what's called a white bleed out or a salt creepage out of these parts. And so if you're putting together a firearm and it looks good initially, and after 3 or 4 days, you get some salt creepage, obviously that can be very expensive. So this hot oil goes in and it's able to flush these salts out of these blind holes, the very tight places where these parts are coupled, and will eliminate that salt creepage.
Oh, interesting. I'm sorry. What was the name of the product again? Just if you can.
Super Seep free, right, Connor?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Perfect. All right. Todd, I wanted to ask you, I know when you're working with a customer and your internal team, you're trying to get everybody on the same page so they know what's going on, what the next steps and who's doing what. How did you all coordinate that internally with your staff, your team, and also the customers to get these changes put in correctly?
Communication is often not done properly enough, we see, especially when you're dealing with outside suppliers. There could be a process change in the metal, a different oil being used before processing. Things like that. When you bring the line in-house, you don't have to worry about as much because it's easier to trace back. So internally, working with the rest of the team, when we're trying to figure out a product, it comes down to just doing the right amount of research with the customer, with the team at Seacole and at Hubbard-Hall to find out which product is going to really be the best fit. And coordinating that internally just means over-communicating if you have to.
With handguns and firearms, it's a difficult thing to blacken because it's almost a work of art that some of these customers who are going to get these and people are holding these parts right up next to them. They're always looking at it. That's got to be a challenge, right? To make sure that you get a flawless finish every single time with this. It has to be.
It is. And some of the gun parts are made from different alloys of steel. They have different hardnesses. And so it's all challenging to get that aesthetically pleasing final piece. And I think Connor would agree that controlling the temperature of the oxide solution is critical to getting that consistent blackening that they're looking for. And so the way we set up our equipment, we have a very tight window that we want to keep that operating temperature range in, and that helps immensely. Also, the type of black oxide, there's a specific type for the gun industry that we like to use, Hubbard-Hall's ABM, versus general tool type black oxide. So choosing the right chemistry, very important.
Yeah, very much so. Let's talk results here. So what were some of the biggest improvements that this manufacturer saw after these changes were made by you all?
Some of the rejects rates that they were seeing coming in from the outside were upwards of 30 to 40%. And so with the advent of putting in their own lines and with us engineering them correctly and with Hubbard-Hall's excellent chemistries, in some of these places, they can go weeks, months without any rejects at all. And so, the right fixturing, we help the customers with that. Rinsing, and like Connor mentioned, the pre-treatment side of it, getting everything dialed in. So we've had excellent success, and all of the lines that we have put in are still running today and operating exceptionally.
When you're putting together new equipment and new chemistry and you've got a new service team, sometimes it doesn't all mesh together, but luckily it did on this part. What are some of the biggest takeaways from when you're looking to put in new equipment or new chemistry and all that type of stuff? What are some of the biggest takeaways you'd say?
For our side, I think the marriage of being able to help engineer and design the equipment, the line side of it, along with being a chemical supplier, is that we know both ends. And so we can put that together and really fine tune each application for the customer. So it's worked out great.
What was your biggest takeaway of doing that when you put all those together? You've got a lot of moving parts. It just isn't Hubbard-Hall going in on this project. You've got others to work with too, right?
Sure. So and echoing somewhat of what Bill was saying too, last thing a customer wants is one of their suppliers to point the finger at a different supplier. So, with this partnership, we're able to go in, provide the products that they need to supply the whole line. Seacole is able to bring the equipment side to it as well and, work with the different engineers to make sure we're able to address all the different issues that they could have whether it be, transfer time between tanks, making sure that the processing time between batches remains consistent, controlling the different chemistries, their temperature, the time the parts are in there, and then working with the operators to make sure they understand how to maintain the right concentrations. All those factors, when you put a process in place that they're able to control and maintain those from day to day, it eliminates so many of the issues that we see with these types of applications. So just being able to go in and provide kind of a unified service beyond just the products to really help make sure that customers are able to get the results that they need the first time and all the time.
And Tommy, you've probably had some flashbacks of your days of running a shop when, you just wanted everything to go right? You didn't care how it got there. You bring in people, experts. You just want it to go right. So it had to be satisfying when things do go that way, like you said, because back in your days when you were doing that, you probably wanted the exact same thing to happen.
Definitely. And having that background, along with the rest of the sales team, kind of working with the chemistry and the equipment, we're able to, like Connor said, train the operators better, give them the resources they need to keep their chemistry where it needs to be. And it goes a long way to help the customer keep running well.
A couple last questions here. And let's give some advice to people who are manufacturers who are facing similar issues with their blackening and or any surface finishing challenges that they may have. What advice would you give some of them on really getting to the heart of the issue and fixing it?
Call us. We're willing to work with anybody. We're willing to put in lines for anybody. Tim, I'd say the majority of the lines that we have put in over the last maybe 6, 7, 8 years have been in captive shops. People just want to be able to control their lead times, the quality of the work that's coming out, and Oxide is a great finish to put in-house.
Any advice there, Connor, on things that you would recommend for someone who has the same situation they're looking at?
I'd say 9 times out of 10, when customers are facing issues, I always go to the steps that come before even the blackening step. Usually what is the state of this part when it goes onto this process line? And are we getting that surface cleaned and, keeping those actual tanks of chemistry in a good working condition? Because that is usually the biggest culprit that we see with quality issues. And then just being able, the more information that customers are able to provide us, it's just going to help us be able to troubleshoot things all the better.
Out of this, you all see any trends that are coming out of as far as blackening or surface finishing that customers, people in the industry should be aware of? Anything come out of it lately that just kind of surprised you or brought attention?
I'll let Connor address that one. What do you got coming out, Connor?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just everyone's concern, with the PFAS regulation. And, most people don't even know what products it is or isn't in. Thankfully, none of the blackening chemistries or the supporting products that we use on these lines really overlap with that type of chemistry all that much. So that's the main one that comes to mind in terms of changes or common threads with different customers.
Great. Well, listen, Bill, Tyler, Connor, I appreciate you all taking time out. This is great information. I know there's a lot of people out there who are, if they're not facing these issues today, they probably will be very soon, because nothing runs as flawless as you want it to be. And, like you said, it's always great to have experts come in and give you a different set of eyes, different perspective on things. So appreciate you all joining us. And I'm sure we'll get back together and talk about a similar issue down the road. So thank you all.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Seen and Solved by Hubbard-Hall. For more episodes, visit hubbardhall.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review, and join us on social media. Produced by Awcast.